Hello and welcome back to Asia Now. In this video, we're going to talk about if you should tip in the Philippines. We're going to read the question, take a look at some people's responses, and stick around till the end. I'm going to tell you guys my personal thoughts regarding tipping in the Philippines. Here's the question. I went to the Diamond Restaurant at Alona Beach, first place I found with a built-in 10% service charge. Food was good, but I don't feel this American stance on billing should be allowed to take off, so we won't be going there again. As someone said, is everyone on a budget here? For something so small, seems like most of the expats here are either super cheap or just plain poor. Okay, so that one got a lot of, likes. I don't really think, at least the person's response or question is not based on the amount. It's about the principle of bringing Western standards into the Philippines, as I'm sure many of us have left the West because of the way things were and we want something new and different. So perhaps that's what the American guy is complaining about, because he's starting to see some of the westernized ways or just culture trending into the Philippines way. I've seen it at some restaurants as well. Let's go ahead and read some other comments. Another person says, it's not an American stance. It's designed for people like yourself who don't usually tip. Oh, shots fired. Maybe, right? Cause sometimes, people, cause I used to work in the restaurant industry and I know tips usually mean a lot to me, or not just to me, to anybody that works in there. Sometimes the tips that a fly just land on my face. I didn't even notice it. Bro, I've been in the Southeast Asia for too long. But yeah, so going back to that, usually in restaurants, profit margins aren't very big. So the way restaurants will usually like to at least subsidize some of the staff wages is through tips, of course. And if a lot of people are not tipping, some restaurants go ahead and build that in. It kind of takes away the pressure from the customer because the set amount of tip, and also the employees get a little bit back, at least from that perspective of being built in for people that don't like to tip. Another person says lots of places do not have any information about service charges on the menu or anywhere else. All of a sudden, there it is on the bill. I'm staggered that despite this honesty, people go back to these places. And that would be annoying, right? If it's not listed anywhere. And once again, I don't think it's the amount that people get annoyed by. It's the fact that it feels like you're being deceived, right? No one tells you ordered your food, you eat it, and next thing you know, it's additional 10, 5, 20%, whatever it is, add it onto your bill. And nowhere on the menu did it say, there's going to be a service charge. Yeah, that could definitely be annoying. I can't really think of any place I've visited where the service charge wasn't listed somewhere on the menu. Perhaps I missed it. Maybe it was really small at the bottom of the menu, but definitely something annoying that I personally would not want to experience if I'm out and about and dating and eating and whatever with friends or anything. And that's an awkward place to try to bring it up at the end of the meal, right? So, because you're going to look really bad as a customer. You're going to look very cheap, let's just say, not very, I don't know, but it is dishonest if they don't actually indicate it. I'm going to read the next two comments together. Someone says 10% service charge is very common at restaurants all over the country. First time here? By the way, it's just the owner adding to the bill. Very doubtful much, if any, of this is shared with the servers. And another person says service charge is very common nowadays and is usually between 5 and 15%. If it's clearly stated on the menu card, I have no problem with it. All this money goes, should, directly to the non-managerial staff. Considering how low the wages are in the hotel and restaurant service, I am happy to pay. Usually even add a small tip for the person who serves us. I have started to see it more and more often as well in all kinds of restaurants, whether from like medium to high-end restaurants. I've seen it a lot more common now in the Philippines. When I first came here, maybe because I wasn't eating in different places, I didn't notice much. Let me know if in the past like 5 to 10 years, if you guys have seen any increase in service charges on your bill, regardless of the establishment or restaurant you're eating at. I'm curious to see if there's been a trend, or did I just miss it when I first came, or am I just getting a bit more money now and spending at a higher end restaurants? Another person says, it seems like this post is a perfect analogy for the attitude of many. It seems many are moving to places like the Philippines to get more while being less grateful for it. So being offended that gratuity is expected seems on point. The Filipino culture and community are so loving, beautiful, and inclusive. So it seems many come expecting to be treated as royalty and offended by the concept that we should be expected to be grateful and reciprocal in our attitude. Although that's making quite the leap of this person's intentions, it is true. Sometimes we have to remind ourselves the Philippines is still a developing country. A lot of time the wages aren't that much. And yeah, it's annoying. I understand. But just remember, it should at least go to the people that do deserve it, that do need it. For us, usually $1 to $3 to $5 isn't really going to break the bank. And if it is going to break the banks, we should probably budget a little bit better. I think it's really important to remember that no matter how little we have, even if you're on like a budget, on some kind of like retirement plan, pension plan, anything like that. And it may not be that much. Remember, about 90%, I would say 80% of people have probably less than you anyways in the country, because a lot of people are still living on like a few hundred pesos a day, right? Don't forget BGC, IT Park, Davao, Iloilo, the major spots. They're not the majority of the country. There's still a lot of people living in provinces. A lot of people actually come into the cities to get jobs and restaurants and hotels and all that. So although they may be working in some nice places, they probably are not going home to a nicer place. So your extra couple dollars really goes a long way to them. And for me, some of the most amazing reactions happen when I tip even a small amounts. When I get something delivered, food delivery, something through Lazada, and just tipping 50 or 100 or rounding up to the next 100, you can see people really appreciate it. So I enjoy that. I personally like to know, even on a small scale, I made a difference in someone else's day. Another person says, it's pretty amazing that every other post I see is an opportunity for a random expat to take shots at the U.S. FYI, if you've never been to the U.S., lived in the U.S., prospered in the U.S., your opinion isn't really needed. For the expat from the U.S. that need to, quote, escape to the Philippines or wanted to come here to finally be noticed, your opinion isn't really valid either. Respect where you currently are, but don't forget where you're from. Some great points there. Sometimes we forget that the country that we're kind of bashing, or like me, sometimes I say, oh, I don't like this about Canada, or, some stuff, whatever. I'm still very grateful that I'm Canadian. I'm still very happy, privileged, and I feel lucky to have that passport. And of course, at the end of the day, I'm very proud and very happy and privileged to be calling myself Canadian. So it's not really, and same with Americans. I'm sure deep down you guys are all very proud of your country and just live there. What is happening? I think things are just falling on my head. I'm here by the pool right now. I don't know if you guys could tell from the background splashes and all that. But anyways, so yeah, let me know about that. Do you guys how do you feel? Just, it must be some kind of like pull within yourself, right? Part of you, cause I know it is with me. Part of me wants to go back to Canada. Part of me wants to be in Asia. Part of me wants to go back to Afghanistan. But right now, of course, you should know it's not a place to be. It's ridiculous over there for anyone to live. Probably one of the worst places on earth. So, and that's another reason I'm very grateful to be anywhere in the world except for there. So don't ever mistake, at least not from my perspective, that that I'm embarrassed or not wanting to be Canadian, even though sometimes I talk about the politics, or those are still like, I don't know, just, I guess, some annoyances. It's not really something that bothers me at night. Okay, so now it's time for my opinion regarding service charge. Personally, I don't mind it. So number one, usually I tip anyway. So when there's a service charge, that kind of takes away me trying to do the math or whatever. So a lot of times, majority of the time, if it's a 10% service charge, I just don't bother tipping. I'll just keep it the way it is and maybe just round up to the next 100. So if the bill is like $4.57, I just leave it 5, even with 10% service charge. The difference is over here in the Philippines, I can afford to do that. But in Canada, they want like up to 20% sometimes or even higher. And the attitude when they receive the tip, it's not that great. Whereas the opposite in the Philippines, oftentimes they're very grateful. So I know that my few dollars, my couple dollars, my $1, whatever it is, it really makes a difference in the receiving end of things. Do I like the fact that most restaurants are adding that service charge in it? I personally don't mind, but I do see why some people get annoyed, because it is kind of like a force upon, what if the service is not good, right? What if you didn't get that great quality service? The food wasn't that great. Now you're still entitled to go ahead and pay the 10% fee, right? So those are some times where I just kind of like, for me, there'd be a gray area, but overall, I don't mind it because it takes just the thinking part away from me and also makes things a little bit simpler for me with the service charge. Plus, it also shows that maybe the restaurant's gone ahead and considered that. Therefore, they might actually provide a better service. Leave your thoughts down below. Let me know, what do you think of tipping in the Philippines? Do you tip? If so, how much? Do you not tip? What do you think of this mandatory or forced upon, or just whatever service fee that is on the menus? I'd love to know. And that's it for this one. If you guys enjoyed it, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. These kids are looking at me. They're having a great time in the pool. I might take a dip myself. I'll see you guys next time, maybe with some news. Bye.